Pinger. At any rate, want to finish my thought here, and then we'll move on. The point behind that is that I have no way of knowing whether this 2-point stop will get hit, but I do know through my statistics that 2-point stop keeps me in anywhere from 70 to 90% of all my trades. So hold on one second, let's see if I can kill this. There, that should have done it, hopefully. That keeps me in over 70% of my trades. So I have no way of knowing it'll get hit. When I'm walking through my motions, I'm following the model that Dr. Steenbarger and Dr. Banneker and Dr. Jeff, who I've worked with all three of them. Excuse me, I haven't worked with Steenbarger, but I've worked with Dr. Banneker and I've worked with Dr. Jeff Baldridge. And all three of those guys would advocate talking through your emotions while you're trading. And the reason behind that is it does not mean that I'm scared that it does not mean that I am moving my stop or getting out of the trade. It simply means that I am vocalizing the anxiety I have about the possibility of being wrong versus my desire to stick to my trading plan. And when you don't get that out, loud and talk yourself through that process, okay, the anxiety can become so strong that you end up with actually going and closing a trade out that you didn't want to close, and then you end up saying, why did I do that? So for those of you that are either new in the room or for guys who are having difficulty listening to me when I'm talking through that, realize I'm talking through that to reduce my anxiety, not to increase your anxiety. So you've got to take that in context, and I'm trying to do that to set an example. A, it's what I do when no one's listening. I walk myself through the trade out loud. And secondly, it helps me stay in those trades and not pull that trigger and not panic out. And it has served me extremely well over a long period of time. Anyways, let's move on to the trade today. So the first thing that I want to point out is actually on the volume profile here. Let's get rid of all this crap. Okay, so first of all, we've been consolidating essentially. I'm going to count this actually as 3 days of consolidation with 2 days of tight consolidation. That tends to bring up, right, move of extension, either upside or downside. Now, when I say I'm expecting a move out of balance, a move out of balance can be we break, we come down here, then we come all the way back out. Move out of balance has been accomplished. Same thing here. We can come up and just trade sideways. Move out of balance has been accomplished. It does not mean that I'm expecting this to start to rip in one direction or another over a period of days. It simply means that we're building pressure up in a very tight area. If we extend this a little bit, we can actually cover it over 4 days, and I'm expecting us to move out of this area. Now, there's nothing that says that we can't stay for a 5th and even a 6th day of balance, but I am looking for that pressure to relieve itself one way or the other, either through an upside move or a downside move. And so for those of you who've been taking multiple tests of balance and expecting it to hold, don't be shocked if we get a larger move, upside or downside. Based on what I'm seeing this morning, and if I was going to guess, I would say that it looks like NQ is actually trying to lead us to the upside. If we look at NQ here really quick, we can see NQ is just, it's getting tighter and tighter. So a perfect example of that is here's 4 days of balance, right? This was a move out of balance, and that pressure was relieved. Now you notice right afterwards, what do? We went right back into balance for 3 days. We moved up. Pressure is relieved. We now have 3 days of balance right here, right? And I think, considering that each of these has been a stair step up and the trend is clearly up, that the most likely move is to relieve that pressure to the upside is my guess, but it doesn't have to do that. Okay, so just be aware, and I would look for NQ has been providing the leadership. Remember, the last couple of these, NQ has actually been underperforming ES, relatively speaking. However, it's clearly not in a bearish scenario. The other thing I think everyone should be marking off on their charts that's important to know, and that is the halfway back point on ES right now. Let's get rid of this. And I'd be measuring the halfway back from 2 points. I'd be measuring both from here to here. Get this all straightened out. This stuff on here. Okay, so this one area, and then I'd also be measuring from here to here. I'd say right now, both these locations, both from 1918 and let's call it 3/4 to 1925 and 3/4, and 1932 and a quarter to 1936 and 3/4. I think both of those areas we will find responsive buyers the first time into these locations. Okay, and I would expect eventually that we come back in and fill this area in. I would especially expect the first time here. I can tell you in this area I will be a responsive buyer somewhere down here, and if we get back here, somewhere back into this area as well. And then of course you have the larger picture from the swing low, which there's no point in talking about it. We're not going to get anywhere close to that today unless something dramatic happens. So that being said, let's go to the chart. So first of all, there's a channel that you'll see I've placed on the chart here. Okay, so this is the top of the channel. This is the bottom of the channel. It's been reacting off of all four of these areas. So I have that's why there is that's why this zone, this whole thing, it technically goes from here down to here. This is the top of the range, right? This is the bottom of the range. We've been bouncing. You can see we're bouncing along the bottom of the range. Assuming we hold Monday's low, right, that opens us up to a move all the way back to the top of this range. And there's no reason this looks huge relative to what we've been trading because we've had 4, 5, 6 point moves, but this is only a 10-point move. There's no reason we can't trade to the top of this range. Okay, so that being said, first time into this Globex low and Monday's low. Where is Globex low? Excuse me. Have I simply left that off the chart, or 19? I see the chart. Our range is so small. Here we go. So we actually had some movement last night, and we moved into this 1947 area. So first time into this location down here, I will take a long. I can tell you that now. This is also an important area here because this was the prior top that we had before this breakout and consolidation phase that we've gone into. I would expect responsive buyers the first time in here. I will be a buyer the first time in. Okay, so there is an issue to be aware of here. The stop back here is 1943.50. Okay, there is one little last slip of support at 1944. I am simply going to play this area, and I'm not going to adjust the stop for this 1944. In other words, I'm not moving it back to 1942. If you're concerned about this, right, I would trade the 1945 to 1944 area. Is still a valid entry. I just don't think we'll get back there. I think we'll find responsive buyers first time from the top of the zone, and so that's how I'm playing it. There's not an easy way when zones stack up like this. Also importantly, below that point, that creates a trap, and we are poorly auctioned below here. Okay, through this area. I should have a square up, so I'll put it in here. Okay, if for some reason a short side trade sets up and you're short, and we can push through this, okay, it should have a fairly easy time pushing through here down to this 1939.50. I will be a responsive buyer here, first time in. The way I'm handling this is I'm actually looking for a responsive buy and a push back up to this 1944 area, where I will probably, if we get down here, unload most of the position, because I think eventually we will work our way down to 1931 if we get into this area at all. I think we'll eventually work our way down to 1931, so I'm simply looking for a trade. I'll scale half, leave a trailer, and then I'll scale the balance up here at 1944. I'm not looking for much more than that. And if we did get down here, depending on how the day develops, I might be looking for a short into this location for a push back down in this area. I will be a responsive buyer here again for a push back up into this location from here. So I want to be clear. I'm looking for longs here, here, and here. There is a zone from 34 to 36 right in here. Okay, it is a weak zone. It's right in the middle of a poorly auctioned area. However, okay, it is almost a 15-point stretch at the top of that zone. So, look, the recent zone, what's the range been? 5 points, 6 points. So when we get down here into this area, okay, this will be 3 times almost the average daily range. It would not be shocking to see us push in here, right, and find a response at least back up to this area. Okay, if I get a tick divergence on 1-minute bars in this area, I will take a long here, but otherwise I am planning to skip and probably will miss the rotation out of this zone if it occurs. However, the odds are dramatically higher because it's in a poorly auctioned area that we get some type of either sideways action and then break, or we simply cut straight through it down to that 1931 and a quarter area. So to be clear, here and here, not so much here. Okay, on the upside, we have Econ at, let me see if I've got this right real quick. Is everyone saying that that NASDAQ chart that I posted was actually an ES chart and did not post an NQ chart? Let me look real quick what we got here. Ah, indeed. Okay, hold on a second here. I'll fix that. Here, I'll post NQ really quick. I thought I did that earlier, but apparently I failed. So here. Great. Okay, thanks, Harry. I appreciate it. That wasn't very, obviously kind of dropped the ball there. Well, here we go. Copy. Everyone who's in the room can get this. Here we go. Easy. Paste. That's the NQ chart, and I'll post it on the private Twitter feed. Okay, there we go. Everyone should have that now. And I'll go over that chart in a second. Okay, so let's talk about the upside. So first of all, my assumption is that we are going to push up. Why? Because betting that we're going to push down has just been a sucker's bet the whole time, right? So I'll believe it when I see it at this point. Okay, everything including the trend says up. That being said, assuming we're opening here at this 1950-50, we have Econ at, and I feel amazingly relaxed this morning, which is kind of odd. Let's see, Tuesday. We have new home sales and consumer confidence at 10 a.m. I'm going to assume that's going to cause some type of movement. My assumption is the movement will be to the upside. I talked to a lot of the guys who I trust on macro stuff, just in general conversations. Yesterday I spoke to a few friends, and all their numbers are showing that that the earnings from all the big companies in the Fortune 500, not in the Fortune 500, but the S&P 500, are actually rocking out. They think that analysts will actually start taking numbers up relatively soon. And so that's not exactly bearish. My experience has been in years past, in order to break a scenario like this where we're constantly grinding up, right? I went through 1999, obviously stands out extremely clearly in my head, but even in periods last year, it takes some kind of negative news to break us. Now, the only thing that I see on the horizon, obviously Putin didn't do jack, right? Syria had a bigger impact than what's going on in the Ukraine. So I really think the only thing that will happen is if Iraq falls into a major civil war and the oil starts going absolutely ballistic. I think that's the only thing that will possibly cause downside moves, and I'm pretty sure those downside moves will simply be buying opportunities, probably on a daily basis. So I'm actually hoping for something, but for right now I have to give the edge to the upside. So at Globex high right now we have 1953 and a quarter. Globex high landed actually in a really crummy place. It's right in the middle of yesterday's range. So be aware, okay, this is the exact situation where if we open at 1950, where we're showing right now, okay, and we trade up into Globex high, that'll also be gap fill. Okay, I will probably take a scalp there, but I'll probably give this olive 5 minutes to work. I want to see an almost immediate rejection back down, and I will base it off of price action. Okay, so I'm not certain. I want to be clear because everyone's been kind of getting a little confused. I will look to see if I can take a short here based on price action, but I'm not certain that I will take it. Okay, first time into yesterday's high, I will take a trade. Again, this has to work pretty quick, 15 minutes. Why am I concerned about it? I'm concerned because we've been in balance, and my guess is that the balance will break to the upside. I will be queuing off of NQ. It does not mean we can't get a 6-tick rotation lower before breaking higher, but I will base it off of price action. If I'm on live, I'll call it. If I'm not, I'll do my best to post it. Okay, so looking for a potential scalp here, also a potential scalp here, but I'm not looking to necessarily leave anything except a very small trailer for an additional move to the downside. If I miss it, I miss it. Above, right? So if you look, okay, this would be our first stretch area, right, from 1952. That would give us approximately, from yesterday's close, the back of this zone would give us approximately 8 points up. That's been capping us on most days. Okay, 8 points up has been capping us. I'll look to take a short, actually anywhere in the zone, if I can get 1 minute tick divergence, first time in. I will automatically be taking a trade in this 1964 to 1966 area. Okay, but I would prefer, again, so as I've been going over every day, we're above new highs, above Monday's high. These are all new highs. So all these zones are based on where I think we'll get exhaustion. Okay, the only place I feel extremely certain that we can get a responsive sell is this 1969 to 1971 location. Okay, I will take a shot at it at 1964, 1966, and I will watch for 1 minute tick divergence in here. My hope is by the time we get up here that this is late in the day and I don't have to worry about taking this trade one way or the other. What I would prefer this morning, right, the best scenario for me is that we actually either get a rotation. We're opening at 1950, right? My preference would be that we actually get a test of this 1947, 1945 location. We get responsive buyers and we push back up, and I can actually leave a trailer for a push in this direction. Now, understand, if I get this trade, okay, it does mean that I will simply be scaling at Globex high and Monday's high, and I will not be taking the shorts here. Okay, you can't have I can't have my cake and eat it too. What's the danger is that we simply come up here and we balance again today, and I end up with zip. Okay, so I just want to make it clear. If I can get a shot here to the long side, okay, I will be ignoring my short trades up here. I've only been getting 1 or 2 trades per day as is. Okay, and I am still not taking the trap trade to the short side on ES. On NQ, if I see it set up, I will, but on ES, I will not take the trap trades to the short side. That trade still has not shown me that it's working enough to take it. So critically, obviously, if we get below this point, below this 1944, that becomes a game changer. And you know where I'll be taking trades lower, but generally, this is a larger picture trap. A close below here would mean that we've trapped all these people that we've consolidated on for the last 2 days, and generally speaking, when you trap in an area, it would call for a trade to the other end of the range. In this particular case, I would say simply a move down to this 1931, 1929 would repair the poorly auctioned area, and then I would expect a responsive move back to the upside from here. So again, also with the 50% moves being in 50 to 62% retraces being in these areas as well, I would expect responsive moves back to the upside. But the upside's been the easiest way. The short side's been the hardest way for the last couple of days. So that is how I'm going to trade it. Additionally, if you look at, let's see if anyone has a question. Hold on a second here. So guys, what I'll try to do is merge the, I will try to merge the NQ files when I send them. My concern is this, okay, I'll go over NQ in just a second, but remember on NQ, those zones that I've highlighted are simply potential reversal areas, and that I base it off of price action. They do not become automatic trades. I want everyone to remember that on NQ, okay? Hold on one second here. So let's go over NQ really fast. Okay, NQ 15-point rotations have been king in this thing for days. These are areas I expect responses out of. Okay, it could be earlier. This is again, we have the same situation. This is all poorly auctioned. This would be relative to what our range has been, right in the middle here, would be a huge stretch. Okay, and actually, if I was going to put another zone there, I would think they were going to lean against this right here, right in this area. Okay, if they get a reversal. Okay, but again, that is a weak zone. It's poorly auctioned. I'd be pretty Johnny be quick in this if I take this area. I'm not sure that I will. The only reason I'm interested is because it would be a 30-point stretch. But okay, so remember when I'm trading this, right? If I'm trading in here and I take the trade here, I've already accepted that my odds are lower. So what do you do in a situation like this? A couple of things. You can reduce trade size. You can pass on the trade. Okay, but mentally prepare yourself. If you take a trade in a poorly auctioned area and you get stopped, and you're saying, this is my last trade of the day. If I get stopped here, I'm done, right? That's a scenario where I'd go, I'm not taking the trade there. Remember, this is all, I want to go back for just 1 second so everyone doesn't get lost in the trees on this deal. On all this stuff in trading, right? What you were saying, let's say you gave me an account today and you said, Simon, here's $10,000. You've got to start from scratch, okay? I would be doing simply picking out my 2 highest odds trades, and I would paper trade to make sure I knew which one of those were my highest odds trades, right? I would take those, and generally speaking, if I had a small account, after I had 2 trades on the day, or even 1 trade on the day, and it was profitable, I would go away. If I go back and look through the history of my trading, and I'm talking going back all the way from the day I started, generally speaking, my first 2 trades are the most profitable, easiest trades of the day, and they're almost always profitable. I mean, yes, I've had some losing trades out of the gate, but on those days where my first trade was a losing trade, if I simply stopped trading and came back the next day, and I simply did that, I'm usually pretty good at nailing the first 30 minutes of the day, okay? If I was to open an account, my only goal, right, would be to get that account from $10,000 to $15,000, or even $10,000 to $12,500, right? Why? Because I want to relax my mind as much as possible. Secondly, even once I got it to 12.5, right, I'd still only want to focus on where I knew I was going to nail it. The reason why that matters, right, is when you get this crap in here where you really have no idea, right, this has been working. This is exactly a scenario where you get markets that are like this, where guys get very comfortable taking 1 point here, 1.5 points there, and all of a sudden we open up to a huge range like this, and you get wiped. Okay, so of course this was a Fed day. That's the only thing that actually moved the market lately. So I guess what I'm trying to say, so everyone doesn't lose the what does it say? The forest for the trees, right? Is that if I had a small account and I wanted to make sure I was taking the highest odds, I would avoid poorly auctioned areas in terms of taking trades there like the plague. Conversely, if I could somehow see to get set up on a trade for a move that would possibly go through and to the downside of a poorly auctioned area, this is exactly where I would push a position to try to capture maximum gain. In other words, let's say I was trading 2 contracts and somehow I got short here for whatever reason. I would cover my first contract as normal, but then I would do everything in my power when I got to a poorly auctioned area to try to push down through that auctioned area to the other portion of the unauctioned area. And I would cover this prior to exiting that poorly auctioned area. And then what I would do as soon as I do that is I would quit. Okay, and I'd come back the next day. Why? My odds of making a good decision after that get poorer. You've got to realize, according to Steenbarger, according to Menaker, according to every trading psychologist I've ever spoken to, we only have the ability to make somewhere between 3 and 5 really good decisions in a row. And remember, choosing not to make a trade goes down as a trading decision. So consider all that. The only reason I'm saying this is because we have a couple extra minutes, right? Consider all that in your trades, right, and where you are in your account. Most of the guys I trade with, talking professionally, have different size trades for different size scales for different size trades, okay? And it took them a long time to build that ability to easily switch gears on size, right? But one thing I do know, and when we get into markets like this, okay, guys who try to push their trades one way or another really hard usually end up getting frustrated and over trading. So instead, right, well, I'm telling you what I would do if I had a small account. I'd take my first 1 or 2 trades for the day and I'd be done. I wouldn't continue to try to push through the course of the day. You can make a ton of money that way. I'm not sure if I actually made any sense there, but I'm trying to emphasize don't over trade this stuff. And the other part I'm trying to emphasize is it gets easier. We will go back to, okay, we will go back to this stuff soon enough, and there'll be plenty of money to be made. Right now, we're just stuck in crap. Don't overforce your hand in this scenario, and don't overthink this scenario. Okay, so the first thing I'd also do is I'd put onto this chart is this trend line right here. This trend line has to get broken in order to have downside, and also this trend line right here has to get broken. That would be easier than this one, right? And then if we look bigger picture, I flip this to a 60-minute chart. Oh, let's just do 30-minute. What the heck? Okay, so then this and this needs to get handled. This to this has already been broken, right? And this is a sign of a market that's going to continue higher. When we break a trend line like that, we get no rotation back. We don't re-auction any of this stuff, right? There's been no attempt to come back in. That's a sign of a strong market. So I would say that the easiest path of least resistance, is to the upside right now on NQ, and that's how I intend to push my trades if I can get setups in that area. So let's talk NQ real quick where I'll be taking them. Push back to a 5 minute. Okay, so I can tell you I'll be looking for traps here and here. Realize, okay, there's only 2 points between Globex low and prior day's low. So normally I would set a stop if I took the scalp trade 5 points behind here. In this particular case, my stop will be 5 points behind that 37.83 and a quarter. Okay, I will take the 37.85, but my stop will be 5 points behind. So there's greater risk in this area. Also realize we're due for a break one way or the other. That break could be to the downside. So if I take the Globex low, right, prior day's low, okay, I will not be shocked if I get stopped. The big key to taking that scalp trade, right, is to be able to take the stop and go ahead and take your next trade setup. If you can't do that, don't take the scalp. It's the most aggressive trade I have. I'll be looking for traps in this area. The traps to the downside on NQ have been working, so I'll take them. But like I said, my concern is more that we will break. This 38.0250 is critical if we get up here. Obviously, that's the former high over here, and we need to get up above it. This area right here, this 37.85 and a quarter, as you can see pretty easily from this chart. Excuse me, what was I saying? I meant this area right here. This 37.98 right here was the former top, right? This is where we rolled back down to the downside. We've got to get above this 37.98 to have a break. So right now, essentially what has happened is we've trapped the people here, and we've trapped the people here. This is going to be the third attempt if we can get up there. Let me see where we're opening right now. We're opening at 37.97. So this is going to be the third attempt at getting above. I will not fade that 37.97 out of the gate. I'll look for on the scalp trade, I will look for a potential trap. I want to see how it works. My guess is NQ was strong all day yesterday. My guess is even if ES is weak, that people will step back in NQ. So I'm going to stay on for a couple minutes and call it as I see it. But other than that, I don't have much more into a greater trade plan. I think we'll know more after we see the consumer confidence number at 9 a.m. And remember, let the market guide us into these trades. It's not like it's rocket science, guys. The market will tell us what to do. It has every time. And the trades have been fairly benign lately. So I think the World Cup is dramatically slowing down the overnight action. And I think that's going to, and when we have a slow market, the buyers have the edge. In that particular case, I really don't think there are any shorts left in the market. Truly, I don't. I think that I think everyone who's short is a cash short. The only shorts are retail guys. I did have a conversation with Raj the other day, and he was telling me that some of the letters he subscribes to, these guys have been calling for a top here at this back at 1900, and now at 1950 they're calling for a top as well. I don't see it. We'll know it when we get it. And then also remember, right, if you're itching to short, go back and look at the gold market. Markets don't generally roll over from the high. They tend to do this action right here, where it comes like this. And then finally, after it's done all this, right, it kind of consolidates in a real small area like this, and then it breaks like that. This is the breakdown pattern we see 90% of the time. Here I have time, I'll show it to you. Okay, perfect example right here. Just go through here on gold, look through the pattern, okay, and again, my favorite pattern, 50% retraces, 50 to 62% retraces are golden prior to breakdowns, right? It won't be able to get back above this 50 to 62% retrace. This is a weekly chart, right? And then you can see how right at the end, we get into these real tight little patterns. It's unable to bounce, and then boom, break. it did not become easy until, look, this is where it started. The short side on this trade, this was the top. What was that? September of 11, excuse me, okay? And if you look, this thing did not get easy to short all the way until March 2012, and it didn't get super easy to short all the way until September of 2012. A year later is how long it took until this thing actually broke to the downside. Okay, so where it was an easy trade to the downside. Also, by the way, if y'all haven't seen that potential double bottom in gold, that'll be defended fairly heavily. But again, I think even if gold's going to break back up to the upside, right, you can see this thing moves in nice big 1 year movements. So if this thing were going to make a significant break back to the upside, right, let's assume this was the low on 628. Well, there you go, 628.13. How are we at? We're now at 630.15, almost a year later. So there you have it, held true to the, markets tend to hold true to their format year over year. If you look at the larger patterns and even the timing patterns, they tend to hold true, right? So before this got easy to work to the downside, almost a year passed here, right? And almost a year has passed here. So, and if you look, this entire move from here to here, this was from 11, obviously, till almost the middle of 13 before we finally got to a low. So what is that, 11, 12, 13, 2 years. So if we look another year out, it could take a whole another year to come back up if it's going to retest these highs and get up here. It'll tend to follow this. A possible mirror image move is certainly possible on gold, but we'll see. Obviously, this double bottom makes for a very nice, easy stop out point. Anyways, that's all I got on that. And then let's look at oil, and since we have time, oil and gold really quick. Go back to that time period to look what that breakdown looked like. It'll be a fairly clear pattern. NQ is pushing the highs out of the gate, guys. So I'm not looking to fade that. I might be wrong, but I like some rotation before I take a scalp from a high. And then if we look closely, let's see if I have this other chart. Oh, I have it right here. Okay. I would suspect a test right into this 105.91 is going to find responsive buyers the first time in CL. I'm waiting for that patiently, right? This is all poorly auctioned below here. I would actually look for a responsive buy right above this little level right here, potentially, and then Globex low is below. Again, but generally if you look at CL, right, if you change this to a, there's nothing bearish about CL. Like it's all good to the upside. So if you look at this chart, we're clearly just begging to come back up and test this area. Even though we're getting responsive sells here, I would suspect once we get down to this 105.91 area, they're just going to make a push back to the upside. We're just re-auctioning this poorly auctioned area out of the gate. Once we're done with that, I imagine that we'll just continue to push back to the upside. If we don't, right, if we get below that lip right there, we can push back into excuse me, Globex lows are already down all the way down here. Asia lows are down here. All of this was poorly auctioned and needs to be re-auctioned, but there's nothing that says it has to do it today, right? And there's plenty of space above that's been poorly auctioned. And if you look at GC, which has been on a tear, right, again, I would expect this is the top of balance. It's attempting to break out, right? So as long as it holds this low right through here, my guess is we're going to come back up for a test of this 1326 location, and sooner rather than later. So anyways, that's all I got for right now, guys. Anyone have any questions? We're about to open. Yes, there is, Tom. Sorry. Hold on. I'll send it to you right now. I apologize. I thought I got everyone. There you go, buddy. Sorry it took so long. I apologize. Anyone else missing? If anyone's missing that file, hit me on Skype, right, by 7:45, 7:50, and I'll send it over to you. So I might take the NQ trap. I have to see how the price action is. I'm not taking ES traps. But no, I'm not taking what I'm not taking is I'm not fading this open on NQ is what I'm not doing. Okay, automatically. If I see it trap, right, I obviously will have a relatively easy stop. Obviously, this 37.98 is critical, but we're at the top of balance. Okay, and when we open there and there's zero rotation with a little open there, it just makes it too easy to drive through there. I don't want to take a stop right out of the gate. I want it to at least have some kind of stretch. So for all I know, it could rotate. Just simply reject out of there. I'm just not taking the scalp this morning. And actually, on ES, we just came right into Monday's low. Right? We have just opened 1950.51. It had to hold that 1950, and it'll actually give me any kind of move down here, considering how strong NQ is. My guess is we're going to drive straight up here. Let's see if they hold it, or they give us any shot at it. And I need to... I was afraid of that. This is exactly why I didn't take the NQ short, is because this is what I was concerned about. It's critical that we hold above that 37.98 now. And then obviously the 38.0250 is the next area. 38.0250 might work as a scalp, but we'll just have to see how it operates. Insert. Tick is positive 250. Nothing dramatic, but positive nonetheless. Remember, we're looking for plus 500 minus 500 would indicate balance on the day. So at this point, a close back below 37.98, I probably would take that for a fade or trap tide to the downside if it occurs. But actually 37.96 and a quarter. We have to get below that Globex low. Excuse me, Globex high. And was the Globex high, did that move? Did it move to 97 prior to the open, guys, and I missed it? What does everyone else have for Globex high right now on NQ? 97 and a quarter. Thanks, I'll take that. So that made it easier. So at this point, I need to see a close below 97 and a quarter. Obviously, that also sets us up with a prior day's high. The break above is good. I'm looking for a move out of balance. So again, I just don't chase it if it doesn't give me an entry. My whole objective is on moves out of balance is not to get run over. If I can get an entry somehow in the direction, that's fine. But obviously, it gave me no move to the downside, which is again part and parcel for we have crap environment for rotations. We are yet to get gap fill on ES. $38.0250 is the first place I expect there to be a potential for a scalp trade. But again, NQ is the stronger one, right? I'd really actually feel better shorting it below 37.97 and a quarter than I would shorting at 38.0250 and getting run over. We're just due for a move, and we have the econ at the top of the hour, which is also moving us. Anyways, guys, I'm going to step away for just a second. I don't expect anything dramatic to happen here. I'm not going to chase this up, and I'll be right back. Grab a glass of water. Okay, guys, we're at that 3802.50. As you can see, they're trying to break it up. Keep in mind, right, 95, I think, is the low. That puts a 15-point swing at 38.10. And this is the year-to-date high. It wouldn't shock me to see people try to push this down, right? But NQ's been tighter. We've been in balance. We're due for a break out of balance. We're pushing to the highs. I'm not overly eager to take this trade, and I've done nothing. I don't even have my box up to load to take the short here yet. Yeah, but I'd want to see it like break above, hold above, and then close below on a trap in order to take it. A B grade rejection would not be sufficient for me because I think the econ's probably going to be good, is my guess, and they're just going to push it through. So I may be wrong on that, Micah. I may be just too. Micah asked me if I would consider 3802.50 to be a trap location. I would. I may be wrong on not taking the trap, right? But I'm not highly motivated here. ES isn't following along, interestingly enough. I might live to regret not taking the short, but it's cool. It's just too slow, right? And it would be too easy to drive through here. So let me go look at the structure back here. Oh, there is no structure. It's new highs. As long as we hold above that 3802.50, they've got a shot at it. But even if they pulled it down, like at this point with the strength in NQ, I think I'd like to trade it a rotation down back to the long side. I mean, just day after day, the short side's been the hard way, the long side's been the easy way. The only question is, do they give us that rotation down? Your only other choice was just to go, I'm going long off the open, and I don't do that. So, possibly potential open drive higher on NQ. The tick wouldn't affirm that, Brian, and we're negative 101. Okay, this is the zero. I apologize. I said it open positive. I was wrong. The tick's actually negative. What that means is, right, the market's moving higher and the tick is negative. That means the broader market's getting seller pressure while the S&P 500 is getting buy pressure. So once the broader market comes around, right, ES will really get a goose from that. When you see that situation, it's not bearish early on. Because all you need is a little bit of a goose from the broader market, and off we go. So you can see that 3802.50, see how they did not back it down from that at all? Okay, it's now a key area, and it does look like open drive higher on NQ. So I will look for a rotation lower to see if I can't get a position to the long side there. Okay, so I want to point out something very key here, guys. Just from a simple observation of knowing that we were in balance for multiple days and I'm expecting to move out of that balance area, right? That has kept, although it hasn't harmed us yet, right? If you took the 3802 as a short, while you haven't gotten stopped out, it sure has kept us from getting into a trade that would get run over. And that's exactly what I mean by a case in point where avoiding a losing trade is as valuable as getting a winning trade. There is no hole to dig out of here, right? I would have liked to have possibly popped that 1950 on the downside out of the gate, but I didn't get that chance. In the meantime, we're not sitting here perilously trying to defend against a lack of counter rotation. Look, we've essentially had open drive higher on NQ, and there is no counter rotation. What would be the first clue that that's going to fail is a close below 3802.50 on a 5-minute bar. That would be our first clue. And we're heading in 18 minutes into econ, right? So we've really already done our first major important job, and that is avoiding a loss right out of the gate. And see now, was it 3807.50 would stop us normally on a scalp? So yeah, I think we've done a pretty good job here. Also, we didn't take the also the other thing that was important, right? The 37.97 1/4. That would normally be a scalp to the short side. Another trade where we've avoided a loss at this point. So again, open drives higher are the most damaging. Okay, are the most damaging to our trading accounts. Avoiding those, that by itself, okay, is incredibly important to my ability to survive long term. Obviously, at this point, we have the potential for almost 2 stops back to back. If you took the 37.97 1/4, you got tagged. If you took the 3802.50, you're about to get tagged. You might survive by a tick. And then remember, 3810 brings up 15. So somewhere between 3810 and 3815, that's where I would expect a potential for a trade to set up. If we're going to have a roll to the downside, that would be the first area of potential exhaustion. That would give us a 15-point rotation higher. And ES, interestingly, is still yet to get above that 1952 3/4 gap that we have. But it wouldn't shock me to see it here in just a second. So that would be your stop for your 5 points at 3802.50. So as far as I'm concerned, I have two winning trades in my book. I've just avoided 10 points, right, worth of losses. That's a big deal for me. Yeah, Mike, when you see open drive higher, brother, you've got to recognize that that's the biggest source of losses, and you've got to recognize when we're about to come out of balance, it's a big deal. And if you can capture them, you can make a ton of money. My concern on, I'm not that concerned about open drive higher in terms of capturing them. I'm simply concerned about sidestepping them. They're a huge source of losses. I don't even, if I even suspect open drive higher, open drive lower, I already know to back my engines down. If I can get long, I will. Okay, but like I said, the other clue was on ES, right? Broader market selling, ES pushing higher. As soon as the broader market steps back in, ES is going to pop higher. I'm not a scalper. I'm not taking this trade 1953 1/4 on Globex High. They can have it. Merry Christmas. Man, I wish I took that 1950, but that 1950 could end up being the low of the day. It just came too fast. Does everyone see what I'm talking about on the open drive higher on NQ? It's kind of hard to miss, right? We've gapped. We did not have gap fill, right? The gap is right below there, and we've driven straight up. From there, that is open drive higher, guys. Now, this is a 15-point extension from the prior day's close, right, on NQ. But realize, shorting here, you're shorting in outer space. What's the first thing that we need to see for shorts to work? We need to see it below 3802.50 and really below 37.97 1/4. My suspicion is that they'll take some profits prior to the econ data, but I'm going to trust them, considering the strength we've had. I'm going to trust them that they're serious about taking NQ up. And when the market is more volatile than what we've got, right, usually we could get some kind of dip or counter rotation to get into this thing, but we're going to be hard pressed today to get that. And understand also, for those of you that, if you're a small trader, right, small traders get frustrated by this and feel like they have to capture this or that they're missing something. But you're not missing anything. The best thing that could happen to us is that NQ has an up 60-day and it wakes up the traders, right, and we start having range in the market. That'd be the best thing that could possibly happen for us. We still don't have a market that works for us in terms of the rotation size. So you notice we went to right to 3809.50, almost exactly a 15-point rotation, okay, and we're getting exactly what I thought we'd have, which is profit taking in front. And we're getting some responsive selling at Globex high on the S. By the way, for those of y'all who are trading CL, do you see how we moved right into that 105.91 and have responsive buying off of that? I'm not going to call my CL trades out in the room, okay, but you can see I highlighted that here, okay, backside test, and look at that response. That's all you need. That's $200 a contract. That little move right there is $200 a contract, guys. And that's what we needed, by the way. This is what, because I think we can have a fantastic move to the upside here. I'm not certain, right? I've pulled up my trailers, but this is what we need on ES and NQ, right? We needed to push overnight, get some responsive selling back down, give us a good entry to the long side. That's what a healthy market looks like, not what we're having right now where it just drives and we don't get a shot at it. That's all right. They'll give us our chance. But this is what I look for, right, in terms of rotations back down, right into structure, then a move back to the upside. NQ did not give us that opportunity this morning. So make sure you count the counter rotations, right? So 3809.50, 15 down brings up 3795.50, 94.50 to the downside, right? ES is getting some responsive sells. I really don't think we're going to see the true nature of this until after we get through the econ. Even on a 1 minute, you can see, look, this is structure, right? Breakout, backside test, right? So we can test the backside of this and the top side of this. We tested the top side. They tried to get a reaction. Actually, they did give it a reaction. Now we'll see if we get a reaction right here, and we can hold above the 0 tick. So my guess is we do hold above this and that we get a push into Monday's high. And that's a 1 minute chart. And I'm not trading off a 1 minute chart, guys. The rotations still matter. Okay, but what I am saying is you'll notice that the market still responds, right? Notice how they paused it even on a 1 minute. There was a pause and gave a small rotation back up, right? Here's the backside of this, and my guess is on the backside that we'll get a pause and a small push back up or a complete rotation. If this were to blow through like this, I would expect a backside test here and then a continuation lower. Okay, so I'm not trading off of 1 minute charts, but the patterns hold true regardless of time frame. And by the way, CL is also saying is saying risk on. That is a risk on trade. So I'm going to step away for just a couple minutes. Econ's up in 9 minutes. I'll be back in about 7 minutes. Okay, guys, excuse me, I'm on. And basically, this morning is a fantastic example, by the way. Uh, um, TF was weak overnight, and there's a lot of traders that like to key off of TF to figure out strength in NQ. And that's a great example of using TF and the relative weakness in TF, right? And then teeing off on NQ to the short side and getting smoked. So even if it plays out, you would have gotten burnt by now. So I find that very interesting. Anyway, at this point, if we do get a close below that 3802 on a 5-minute bar, and obviously the key to the day is going to be that 3802. Obviously, also this 3809.50 now is key on this retrace. Obviously, that a favorable reaction. It'll be key getting above Monday's high to the upside. Yes. Come on, guys. You know you already got this. Again, my trade right now is if we close below that 3802.50, I will take a shot to the downside on the trap trade. But it's going to have to demo straight an ability to do that. GC got smacked down there. And you're about to color me along GC at, well, I'll give it a minute here. $13.18.50 long. Stop is $13.17.90. Very tight stop on this. But I'm not going to screw around with it. Scale, so I'm at 13.19.30 on GC. So I didn't mean to call it out, but since I did, I'll follow through on the trade. One second, Brian, I'll show you. like that. There's 3802.50. That was the high from a couple days ago. This was the prior high prior to that. What do you show? It's not from the prior day's high, it's just the prior high. That's all. Okay, again, guys, we didn't get it long, and but we're not getting run over, right? And that becomes critical, obviously, to all of us. So on GC, I'm moving my stop now to break even on balance. And looks like they're about to tag me. Not yet, but damn close. Oh yeah, Alan, I'm sorry I didn't call it out. I am stopped to break even on GC on CL, most definitely. And I'm out on that trade, by the way. I'm out of 3/4 of that position, and that's a huge move for me at least. That's over 30 ticks. They didn't take me by, I literally survived this thing by a tick on CL. I actually showed ticking 50. I wonder why they didn't tell me. I better send a message. Okay, so there is a 15 to 20 point rotation up. Okay, and that's generally, this is right into Monday's high on ES. Okay, so here's the reason why. Oh, there we go, tagged. Okay, so I'm done on GC. Oh, I thought that was weird. They didn't tag me. What was I going to say? Okay, perfect example of how we get a 20-point rotation up. So let me ask you in terms of shorts, right? New highs on NQ. ES just below new highs. Okay, so our only choice this morning, right, was to either take along here or take along here. This gave absolutely no rotation. This was open. I don't buy the opens, right? This gave me potential entry, but again, no rotation lower. The best I could have done in this scenario is two things. First of all, I avoided taking 2 stops in NQ. That's a big deal. Brian, you mean you got 26 points this morning? 20 points on NQ? Oh, that's a 20-point rotation. Yeah, that's what I was saying. 15 to 20 has been the rotation. That's been magic for fading it, but we're at new highs, and I'm just not interested in fading it again. More interested in the trap. I mean, clearly buyers are in control. It sucks that I don't have anything long. Okay, that's enough, guys. Got it. I'll kill the alert. I've already gotten stopped. Okay, there we go. Life is easier. Okay, so I'm not overly eager to take a short. What's my next setup for a potential short? First hour's high, right? We identified open drive lower. We know we're in a low volatility environment where we've had lack of rotation back down, okay? And the market's been moving into chop after 9:30 a.m. So there's only one or two ways to potentially play this. You can play the rotations lower. At this point, a rotation down from 38.15 to 3800 would bring us for a backside test of that 3802. That's the first place I'd look to attempt a potential move back to the upside. That'll be pretty easy. If we close below 3802, that'll be a trap, right? You don't have to worry about the rotation back up if we get down there, right? The second way to play it is to wait for a move higher and then see if we can't get a 15-point rotation lower. But I'm not going to chase number one, either one of them. I'm not interested in taking the traps or the scalps to the short side in ES. Why? We've been grinding higher with almost no rotation. And the first day that we break, the thing that I pray for most in this scenario is that we nice, Brian. The thing that I most want more than anything outside of this market, if I don't take a single trade today out of NQ or ES, is I hope that we get a big, fat, wide, volatile range and we can start moving up and down. We've got to break out of this area in order to get some volatility. People getting fearful, people getting greedy, one of the two. We don't have either one right now. We just have a slow grinder. Okay, and what's most likely to happen on this now, let's switch over to 5 minute. I was looking for a move out of balance. We're getting that move out of balance. The most likely thing to happen is we come up to this 58.50, right, to 60.50, and I'll look for a short in this location. But I do not want to pit on I do not want to try to take a short here. If it traps, if it falls apart, that would be great. That would set up some trades for us the following days, right? But I'm not going to fight this all the way up. I wish I'd gotten along, but I don't have another way of. I guess what I'm trying to say is my frustration is on days like today is I feel like I should have a long trade here. I feel like the market owes me a rotation, a good rotation, so I can get position and get long. But the market doesn't owe me anything. I only have two ways of balancing this, right? I'm going to be pissed that I'm not long. I can chase. It's always an option. It's a terrible option, but it's an option, right? Or the third piece is I can just sit patiently. Obviously, as you build your skill set, you can add markets, right? So I had a trade in GC that worked out nicely, although I got tagged out, it looks like, right at the bottom of this swing here, which sucks. I'm killing it in CL. I've got a free ride to the upside. I've already taken 3/4 of the trade off. So over time, my objective would be that hopefully when we get the volatility back, the reads will be just as clean, but I'll get the clean entries as well. They both have to match up for me. So traders who are going, oh, I've got this red, I know what's going on, I'm going to take the long, I guess that's cool. But for all their risk, right, if you took a long at 1950 and you held through numbers, right, at this point you've been rewarded with 5 points, okay, and versus if bad news had come out, how far is the rotation down potentially? There's a lot of space below us, okay, so risk versus reward. Okay, so we know not to take the trap trade, so today's essentially been about sidestepping all the trades we've been taking the last couple of days, scalps into highs, scalps into key areas to the short side, right? We've sidestepped all of those, and you've got to consider that, at least I do, I consider that a win in my book. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has because I got nothing going on, and I don't even know how much longer I need to stay on this if this is going to be the case. I'm just going to watch for rotations, potential rotations lower to see if I can get an entry. You invite me for that, Brian. I'll be interested in joining you for that, brother. I got a feeling I went a little too tight on that. I brought up my stop a little too quickly on that gold trade. I might live to regret that today. That's a good pattern. Yeah, sure. Here you go. I don't see what you don't see. It was the high from just a couple of days ago, Brian. Right there. As a matter of fact, it was yesterday morning, 3802. Oh, what was that? That wasn't yesterday morning. That was 3 days ago. 3802.50. That was the high. We rejected out of that and fell back lower. Okay. That was key that we get above. Now it's key that we hold above. So my guess is we're not going to even auction all the way back down there. My guess is at this point, we'll find responsive buyers right here. It's poorly auctioned, right? So all of this is poorly auctioned down to here. Okay. So my guess is we'll find responsive buyers there. We know that if we close below here, okay, critically, right now if we close underneath here on a 5-minute bar, now we have a trap to the downside and a potential downside move, right? But we got to let it play out. Also, that would be one hellacious stop. You're going to have to reduce trade size to make that trade work. No problem. You know what I'm going to say, Brian, so I'm not going to bust on you and your platform. Although I want to. Guys, I'll be right back. I'm going to mute out here for a sec. Hey guys, so I just want to leave you with one last thought here on the day. What hurts retail traders so badly on trend day up, okay, is that they refuse to accept that it's a trend day up and they try to keep shorting rotations that aren't happening, Okay, and they keep trying to force that short over and over and over again. So we're about to have the first hour high here in 10 minutes. Mark that off. That'll be, if you want to short, that'll be the next area to take a short. I'm not overly excited about shorting. We were expecting to break out of balance. So if you didn't get this, the only other way to trade a break out of balance, if you think you've identified it, in this case, we delayed it because of the econ, right? NQ went out of the gate, ES followed behind. First of all, NQ led us up. That's important information. That's the first time it's led us up. Secondly, we actually have a range on NQ, which is amen, hallelujah. That is great, right? The first 15 didn't contain it, by the way. So, right, so at this point, 95 to 10. So the next 15, right, so a 30-point rotation would be 10, 15, so 38.25, right? That's our next area to 38.30 is our next potential area. And I'll probably attempt, if I was going to, this is our next area for potential counter rotation back to the downside, right? And obviously we're about to set a first hour high. All I can say is avoiding getting run over is a huge, huge deal to the long-term success of your trading account. Hey guys, someone has pointed out quite rightly that I screwed up the rotation size. The rotation should be measured from the swing low. That's 37.95. Right, let's see, 37.95, right, brings up 38.10. 38.10 brings up 38.25. That would be 30. That would be a 30-point rotation. So where we're at right now, 38.15 would have been the so everyone's clear. 38.15 would have been the 15-point rotation up. It's trend day up, right? So usually the way I look at it is, right? So the stop. So here's the tricky part, right? This is the area you need for cushion. Usually the stop is 5 points behind. In this particular case, right? That's going to give you a. How's that possible? 38.15. That means that because 38.10 was the 15-point rotation up. I see. So it's 38.10 to 38.15. So from 38.10 brings up 35.25 to 35.30. So normally it would be 38.15. 38.10 would have been the 15-point rotation. Okay, Damon, let me explain this. This from the open was 15 points up. You can see they rejected it just in front of that, right? And we got a rotation down. We've already had the rejection from here. The next 15 up is 38.25. Okay, and so that area for rejection will be 38.25 to 38.30. Now I want to remind everybody on NQ, the ranges change on NQ based on volatility. Right now it's 15, and I'm not certain that we'll get all the way up to 38.25, 38.30, but that's the next area I would look at. Does that make sense? Right, Brian, you got it. 38.10 was correct with a 5-point stop behind. Obviously, if you did not, okay, so if it comes within a tick, obviously I wasn't interested in shorting any of this, but if it comes within a tick, right, this is your rotation down. It did its job, right? That was it. That's a full 5-point rotation lower. And then if you look even from here, right, if you do 15 up, that still brings you up to 38.20, but I'm going to go from the original, I'm going to work from this point instead of from this point for the rotations. This is advanced stuff if y'all are newer, guys. So I'm working off of here. That gives me 15. This gives me 30, right? I'm going to take the more conservative approach, but it's trend day up. Why even, as hard as that is to say with up 4 on ES, right? That's very hard to fight. Yes, we are. But again, Mike, I got to stress, I'm not eager. Look, there's no counter rotations, guys. So I just want to be totally clear. Okay, I want to see 1 minute tick divergence. There's no one's on the other side of this trade. This is an outer space, right? So ask yourself, if you want to short, right, what do you hope comes out of that short, and what's your risk reward? You're above 1955.50. That was a critical area, right? We are trending to the upside, right? We're almost at that 38.25. If I was going to short anything, actually, the one that's more extended is NQ, and I think I have a better chance at a 5-point rotation there if I was going to take it. What do I want here if I want to take this trade? I want tick divergence on a 1 minute. And even then on trend day up, that's pretty tough. Right? Right at the back of this range, we knew that we had a good chance of getting up into this location today. Right? And we know that we also have a decent chance. I mean, look at the stretch. It's 5 points, guys. So let's put this in balance, right? 2 months ago, we were nervous taking 6-point rotations for a 2-point trade. Now we have no counter rotations, right? Let these guys come in and squeeze the daylights out of these guys. I missed the upside. Why am I going to sit here and the only thing I have to gain at this point at 9:30, right? The only thing I have to gain is potentially getting my butt kicked on a move that will not work for me, okay? And then having zero opportunity to recapture that. When I walk in tomorrow, guess what? I probably have a decent trade waiting for me, like we have almost every other day. You can't make every single day the most important day of your trading life, or you will get crushed in the process. Okay. Additionally, if I get up into this zone, right? If I get up into this location, what do I need? I needed to get back below this first hour high. Is the first thing I need, right? So, excuse me, put that in the wrong place. Thanks to dyslexia. 9:30. Put me here. I needed to get back below almost immediately, right here. Okay, so I've got nothing on the short side till I get below here, and I'm just not in a rush to fight this. Does anyone have any questions? Is anyone frustrated? Globex high for a previous day's high. No, I use Globex high for a trap if it sets up. But the Globex high is way down here at 1953 and a quarter. Harry, we can go over that in session. I think we meet this week. For previous day's high, correct. I only use the prior days, the RTH for prior day's high. That is correct. I do not look at the prior day's Globex high. I don't work off the 24-hour chart for the most part, particularly on NQ. Harry's question was whether I take the Globex high from the prior day or if I use the RTH, which is the regular trading hours for the high. I use the regular trading hours high only. I do not use the prior day's Globex high as a point of inflection. And yeah, Murray said that I'd much rather, I'm going to find a way to share this so people can make comments. I got to get on with customer service. They said, I'd much rather not take a trade all day than to take a loss. Patience is best. I agree with you 100%. I wish they would have given us this rotation, but they didn't. Adam, why not long at 51.25 just before 9 a.m.? Well, Adam, that was right in front of econ data, buddy. Adam asked why not take a long 51.25. First touch of zone going back the other way, not enough rotation down to get it along. Exactly. I mean, again, I'm just going to default to the larger range. It's summertime, right? So summertime is usually my lowest numbers. Maybe it's because I don't take trades with small rotations, but it sure saves my bacon the rest of the year. So the he was asking about this rotation down on ES right before econ. Okay, not only that, but technically we opened the zone, right? So visually I view this like this, right? This is the first test down into the zone. We got responsive buyers and a push back up. Okay, I actually view this today as the second move down into the zone. Okay, and then we got to push this the second time. We had the smallest of tick divergence right here. So I guess you could have used that, but that was right when econ came out. So that's a harder call. It just didn't fit my profile for taking a trade to the long side. And again, what are we looking for here? Tick divergence in the zone would be what I'm looking for if I was going to take the trade to the short side. Okay, and then also on NQ, so anyways, I'll call it as I see it, guys. We're right at that 30 up. Okay, so if you take the trade here, right, you got to consider they can roll all the way up to 38.30. Okay, if you take that short there. So I tell you what, just for experience sake, right? Let's say we're at 9.30. You know what? Hell, this is straight up. I'm actually not going to take the trade, even on 2 contracts, just to demonstrate it. These are not the days I make my money when the market's going straight up, and I'm not going to demonstrate that you have to have balls to step in front of a straight up market at new highs. I just think that's, if someone told me they did that, I would be like, that was retarded, so I'm not going to do it myself. Okay, can anyone hear me now? Is this better? I keep hearing that there's issues on the sound. Is this any better? Okay. I moved the mic away because I was under the impression that I was breathing into the mic. So, okay. Well, apparently some people are having. Nice, Ron. Okay, guys. So here's the deal. I'm not going to stand in the way of this thing. I wish I'd gotten the trade to the upside. Obviously, we knew that it was supposed to be a move out of balance. You know, it's hard. It's hard when you have econ right in front and you get no counter rotations. And so this would be great if the market woke up. We were looking for a move out of balance. And so now what I would do is print the last 2 days actions, 3 days actions, right? Note what happened this morning, take detailed notes. Avoiding getting crushed on days like today is simply the biggest deal there is. So, okay. So someone was saying they were having a hard time hearing me. I hope that fixes it. I listened to some of the recordings, and it sure sounded like I was breathing into people's ears. So if you're long, I would certainly take profits here, up 30. I would rather look for a rotation down, a 15 at this point, right? So that puts me at 38.25. That means that, what is that, 38.15? 38.10 right now is my bogey, approximately, to look for a long, right? Where would that put me at? 38.10 on NQ. And that would be perfect. So this area right here, so basically from 38.12, I'll be willing to step in a little bit in front of that. Somewhere between 38.12 and 38.09, right? I'm looking to get long. My stop will be 38.05 if they give it to me, okay? So I'm totally willing to miss it on ES. We're driving, and I think mission accomplished on my side because I didn't get run over. I don't have any losses to make up, and prayfully, we are breaking out of this crap, and this is not a one-day wonder. Print the volume profile sheets, print the price action from the last 2 days, when you can tell that a market's about to break out of balance. Okay, we didn't know which way it was going to break, although obviously the longs had the edge, right? But that's how you know when to suspend the scalp trades, the trap trades. Everything that might put you in a position to get your ass kicked, okay, you can sidestep all of that if you can read that ahead of time. Man, Brian, that'll be. I'm very reluctant on a day like today to take that trap trade. I'll have, if it sets up in the afternoon, maybe. Okay, but okay, great. Thanks, Terry. So I have not. I'm not eager to short today. Okay, my lessons from the past have been that occasionally these fail, but this is not the case. This is the first day of a break. It's not like the 5th day of a break, and we're shorting a first-hour trap on extension. This is the first day I'm going to give them room to work it, and there's no counter rotation. So right now, my money is still mine. I'm going to keep it that way. Anyways, guys, I'm going to drop off. I will update through the day. I'll leave this up for the next 20 minutes or so. And if I see something, I'll call it. I do think this is, if I were going to be aggressive, okay, and if I was just making bank the last couple of days where I was huge, I might even take a small trade up here. But here's the deal. I've been getting 1 trade a day, and I've been happy with it. Okay, for better or for worse, I've been taking 1 trade a day. And I'm not interested in crushing myself. And not only that, but ES isn't anywhere close to an extended day up. It's up 6. Imagine if we have an up 20 day today, which is totally doable, right? That puts us at 1960. Let's see, another 14 from here, 1960. Let's see, I said 1970, 1975, roughly. Okay, and it can be done. We're only up 6 right now, so I do think this is the area where we may see some rejection. And if someone wants to waste, spend their energy trying to short it, that's fine. I would take notes. I don't short markets that are going straight up. It's not good for my wealth. Hey, you're very welcome, Harry. Very welcome. We can take a quick look at that. All right. CL, move right up to Globex high. I think it's going to break above. That has all the signs of making a break. It may not yet. And obviously I totally, at this point, goofed that GC trade. I should have left my stop at swing low, but that's all right. It happens. So anyways, guys, I'll leave it open for another 10 or 15 minutes, and I'll update through the day. But my objective on days like today, okay, everyone looks at this. Remember how we make money, guys. Everyone looks at this and goes, oh, I could have made 20 points today. I look at it as, man, I could have gotten 2 stops for 5 points apiece or 10 points apiece on NQ. And I look at it as I could have gotten smoked on my ES short, and I could be sitting here going, man, how did I get so killed? Okay, so I'm a counter trader. I'm not a trend trader. Now, I was willing to, and when I look back and when I put my notes, I was willing to take a long if they gave me a rotation that was reasonable. They didn't. Okay, so my next best option is not getting killed. The only way to counter this as a trader is if you think you have the ability to stop and flip and know which days to trend trade in Q and ES and which days to counter trade it. Now, if you can do that, that's great. That puts you in pretty rarefied air. I barely know any professional traders that can actually do that. So I'm a counter trader. I make 95% of my dollars through the counter trade, and I'll continue to do that. The only thing I can say is to continue to expand your knowledge of the different markets and get your setups clearly defined, right? But you pat yourself on the back if you didn't get your butt kicked to the short side. It was a big deal today. So anyways, thanks, guys, and I will talk to y'all later. See y'all soon.